Hey, certainly glad you could join me today. Right, thank you for all the thousands of people who have contacted me to ask me to give you another video on the Yellow Monkey Emperor, classic of Chinese medicine. Not really, but I thought I'd do it anyway because I'm really proud of what we did, and I thought it'd be nice to share some more background information and a little bit of the origins of some of the stories and the book itself. So here we are. Let's start with this. 2013, Damo has a great idea. 78 that he considered important Zhang Fu syndromes, which all have anything from 3 or 4 to 16 symptoms within them. And he thought it'd be really good to be able to do a book which enabled students of Chinese medicine to be able to memorize them and use them in their practice. So puts the idea forward, and these were the first drawings that I did. And as you can see, they originally were intended to be Taoist monk types, like sort of this guy here, sort of, an individual monk with all the symptoms sort of drawn on him where possible and little symbols pointing to them there. Didn't work really, so I thought, well, maybe it needs to be a group of monks talking about what's wrong with them. But that didn't really work either, and to be honest with you, the publishers didn't like it. So a year goes by, and I have basically thought a little bit more about it, and Vicky and I had at this point done cartoons from the horse's mouth, and that was horses will look a bit like this. And I thought, well, maybe this is how the Yellow Monkey book could be done. Animals, obviously these are the 12 astrological animals from the Chinese astrology, and maybe what's needed here to enable us to get all of this detail out is a comic story rather than just a single panel. So I put this forward to Damo. He thought it was a good idea, and he said, let's draw a few up and we'll go back to the publisher. So a lot of research took place, character development. You can see here this is Bebo in development because Damo had asked for a Bebo character, a giant bee, and it then became this, which started with a few stories which went to the publisher. They loved it, and then we went from there. So let me show you a few things. Let me explain to you how a few of these things came to be. So this here is how a story would develop, ignoring the little fella there, which does look a bit like my dad. I would sketch characters. I would brainstorm the different symptoms and start to think about what that meant to me. If we're talking about jerky movements, does that suggest a Tai Chi robot pig? If we think about a Tai Chi robot pig, we think about sort of movie monsters, and it sort of goes from there. You can see the way the mind works. Well, see the way my mind works. And then these little sketches become this. And they develop into the story. Like so. You see? Show you another one. This one here is the original sketches for liver yang deficiency. So once again, do a little brainstorm. Think about all the different things about what the symptoms are and what that means. And you think to yourself, well, this is the sort of story developing. And then that becomes character development. Had to have a little ministerial duck there. Duck Minister, Her Majesty, had to be done. Thinking about different colourings and things like that. Thinking about the layout of the story. And that becomes this. And you can see that the characters came through, and the little duck. He didn't get his hat in the end, actually, but you got a little ministerial thing around his neck instead. Let me show you another one. This is one of my favourite characters, the rhyming scholar sage. And again, the design of the sage is very much based on the sort of classical design of sages with the hat and the little belt of coins. And the rhyming scholar sage stories always started with the rhyme. And then I would then try and sketch a way of having that rhyme turned into some form of story. and it becomes this. And you can see the same sort of layout, the use of the silhouettes and the rhyming sage, which I'm pointing to a bit you can't see, like so, which is, like I say, one of my favourite characters. I'll show you one more. And this is an example of how a character starts as a doodle, and then I think to myself, how can I use this guy? And I'm thinking, well, he looks a bit irritable, he's got a low mood, and well, that's one of the symptoms for liver and spleen disharmony. So starting to think about that, starting to think about the sage, sorry, the immortal that was going to be the one that came and talked to him. And we get this story here. So you can see the character over here, see the immortal here, which obviously on the second page he recognises as being Jie Kwai Li. I've probably not said that very well, apologies. But that is another example of how the story comes from a character rather than from a symptom. We'll ignore that one for a second because I know that one, where that one came from. But let me show you one more. There's another example of sketches. Oh, here you go. Here's one. Here's one that came from a symptom. So I think to myself, cloudy urine. That immediately makes me think about the weather. So it goes from cloudy urine to the weather to this story, which eventually the character, the gallbladder character, everything about it, the colour, the trigrams, the number, the element, all thought through and sort of covered on this, on these sketches. So yeah, so that's just an example really of more background of the Yellow Monkey Emperor. And as you can see from this huge collection I've got here of sketches throughout the book, that there's a lot of different elements that went into it that make this up. And maybe I'll do another video and explain those at another time. But for now, I think 7.5 minutes is long enough. Thanks for watching.